Good morning, everyone. And I first want to thank these wonderful folks that are with me this morning, as well as Brock McGregor, our candidate for the Chatham-Kent Leamington riding. And we're here at the home of Vera, and we're here with Vera and Mary and Pat and Doug to talk about how we can support seniors to stay at home longer. And we know that that's what people want. They want to be able to I guess some people call it age in place, but sometimes folks need a little bit of help to make sure that happens. Nobody wants to be pushed into a long-term care home or stuck in a hospital bed without the option of staying at home. And I think that one of the things that we've talked about here is that with a number of different initiatives, a number of different bits of help, we can make sure that seniors can stay at home in their homes longer. And that's what this is all about. Let's do that. Let's get together and make sure that we provide the supports that seniors need to stay at home for as long as possible. And those things include things like a home care system that meets your needs. And so our plan is to include $1 billion of extra funding to get our home care system up to snuff, so that home care is available and is reliable for seniors to help them with their daily needs, and sometimes only once or twice a week, a little bit of extra help to take care of the things that they need help with. We also want to see seniors be able to afford to stay in their homes longer. So we have a plan to help with the property taxes, so that seniors who are at a bit of a financial crossroads can take that weight off of their backs. And average would be about between $300 and $400 a month. I think our average, property tax support would be about $375, but it would depend on where your home is and what your property taxes are. But to take that burden off, that financial burden off seniors who are on fixed incomes, would really make a difference in terms of their ability to keep themselves in their own homes. We also have plans that would help seniors to be able to have their families, their loved ones, get a chance at supporting them. So we know that there are lots of lower income families who really do their best to take care of their loved ones who are seniors, but sometimes it costs a bit of money. Sometimes it's a bit financially challenging, and of course, with the price of everything going up, with the affordability where it is in our province, it's really tough on lower income families. So we also have a caregiver benefit that we would like to ensure that folks who need a little bit of extra help, up to $400 a month, to support their lower income loved ones, that they can get that as well. The bottom line is this: nobody wants to be forced into a long-term care home. Nobody wants to be stuck in a hospital bed without the supports that they need. And so let's come together and give seniors what they need to be able to stay at home as long as possible. That's our plan, and I'm really grateful to these wonderful folks in this beautiful setting to have this conversation with us this morning, and certainly we'll take any questions that folks might have.
So we'll ask folks on site to move to the microphone if you have a question, starting with media traveling on the bus. It'll be one question, one follow-up. First question comes from Aidan Chimandi from Queen's Park Briefing.
Morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Hi, Andrea.
Happy Friday, Aidan. I didn't even realize it was Friday. It's just
I would never forget. So Ford's also in Windsor today, and polling is showing that the PCs have twice the support of voters with a trade school education or college education as the NDP have. This is a trend, a phenomenon we've seen in countries across the world. So I'm wondering, why do you think we're seeing, traditional NDP support bleed to the PCs, and what are you going to do about it?
Well, I think that it's clear that working people deserve a fair shake here in Ontario, and what we know is that folks have to be able to rely on the kinds of things that make life more affordable. So we're going to continue to talk to people, working people, senior citizens, folks throughout the communities around this great province, to show them that conservative cuts will hurt them and their families. We can't see any more conservative cuts here in Ontario. But what we do need is a government that's in it for you. And Doug Ford has been in it for his buddies all the way through. But what we can have this time is a premier that works for you each and every day. And that includes working for senior citizens to help them stay at home longer. But it also includes making life more affordable in other ways, making sure that people's dental care is paid for, that they can get the mental health care that they need by bringing mental health services into OHIP, by making sure that that folks have a reliability around gas prices, as we hear gas prices are going up again in a couple, apparently tomorrow. The affordability of everyday life is really on people's minds, and we're the party with the plan to really help people to get through these financial tough times. So we're going to continue to have those conversations with everybody in Ontario, and look forward to having an opportunity to really make a difference in people's lives.
And so there's a letter circulating around Twitter that purports to be from you to members in regards to the ODSP increase, that acknowledges some members are not exactly thrilled about the 20% promise. And I'm just wondering if you could comment on the authenticity of that letter, and if it's caused you to maybe rethink your 20% position.
Well, I'm not certain of the letter specifically that you're referring to, but we all know that people living with disabilities on the current ODSP rates are not able to live any decent quality of life whatsoever. And that's been the case for a long time. The Conservatives, when they were last in office under Mike Harris, cut the rates for people on disabilities significantly by almost 25%, 23% if I recall. And the Liberals had 15 years and never addressed that reduction. And of course, fast forward to where we are now, years and years and years have gone by, and the rates have not increased substantially at all, and have not kept up with inflation. So people are worse off than they ever have before. And I've been hearing heartbreaking stories about people that are literally looking to medically assisted death. I mean, they're looking at these kinds of solutions because they can't survive. They can't survive on the rates that we currently have. So yes, we've looked at the rates. Yes, we are committed to making sure that those rates are increased by 20%. And my platform is coming out. My costed platform is coming out very shortly. And I think the people in who are living on disability pensions on ODSP are going to be very, very happy to see what we've done to take care of their needs. It's cruel what's been happening for a very long time in this province, and it has to stop.
Next question comes from Liam Casey from the Canadian Press.
Morning, Andrea.
Hi, Liam.
On the tax deferral program, it says in the release here that you would repay the loan, once you sell your home. What happens, if you die before you sell your home? Is this kind of like a death tax? Like, how's it going to work? Not
at all. When there's when that situation occurs, it would be part of the estate process. So there would be an estate process in terms of a person's property when they pass, and it would be tied into that. Okay.
And switching gears, we're going to talk a little bit about the 4-day work week. Can you you've sort of pledged to look into this pilot program. Can you provide sort of details on like the province workers, I think, will be part of the program? Just looking for, what you sort of envision and kind of when this will come about.
So what we know that there's a lot of conversations happening that sprung up, during COVID, but of course this concept has been around for a very, very long time. But because of the way that people's work changed during COVID, I think it became much more relevant as a conversation. So what we've said is maybe we should look at exactly how that might work in the province, and the best way to do that is through a pilot project. Some of the things I want to flag, though, is a concern around making sure people's income is not negatively affected with the cost of everything going up. We don't want to see a 4-day work week that then means people aren't able to pay the bills anymore. So that would be a piece. We want to make sure employers are able to accommodate that 4-day work week without having a loss of revenue for them, or a loss of capacity in terms of being able to carry on their businesses successfully. So this is why we've gone with the idea of a pilot project, so that we can flesh out what some of the challenges are, but also what some of the opportunities are.
Next question comes from Mathieu Simard from Radio-Canada.
Morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Mathieu.
There's a section in your platform about electoral reform.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you mention a ranked ballot. If you're elected premier, would you give back that possibility to municipalities to hold a ranked ballot? And because I know lots of voters, especially in London, were a bit sore when Doug Ford decided to remove that option.
Yeah, in fact, he removed that option right directly before a municipal election, and that was a very anti-democratic thing to do, and very heavy-handed by Doug Ford. We saw not only that ranked ballot option being removed from London, but if I'm not mistaken, the City of Toronto was planning to do that in the following municipal set of elections, which would have been this year, actually. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that that people engage in the conversation around their democracy, and when places like the City of London did that with their community, that's what they decided would be the best way to elect the members to their city council. Similarly, this is the conversation that was happening in Toronto and in many other places. So absolutely, people should be able to own their democracy, to be able to be a part of the decisions around how to make that democracy work best for them. So yes, I guess the short answer is yes. We would be allowing that to go forward, because it's the right thing to do, to give people that opportunity.
And I want to ask you about the upcoming debate on Monday. The Toronto Star was reporting yesterday that Doug Ford will be allowed to bring a binder or bring his notes to the debate. He was also relying on his notes last Monday for the debate up north. Do you think the organizers should have accepted this request, and do you think it's fair play?
Well, I don't get all involved in the process of these things, but I do know that apparently it's usually a joint process, a joint decision-making process, that no one team necessarily can direct the way that this debate is to be organized. I guess that's a little bit different than what happened this time, and you'll have to ask the folks that are leading that process as to why things change this time around. What I'm gonna commit to is I'll have my pen and I'll have my paper to organize my thoughts, and try to keep my answers as short as possible, and my conversation as direct as possible to the people of Ontario. But the most important thing about this debate on Monday is for people to get a sense of who actually has the capacity to defeat Doug Ford this time. It's absolutely the case that every poll that has been taken over the last number of weeks and months, 6 out of 10 Ontarians don't want to see Doug Ford win this next election. Right now, your best shot at making that happen is to come together and vote for the NDP. We had 40 seats in the last election. The Liberals didn't even make party status, and Mr. Del Duca didn't win his own seat. We're I say sometimes we're the team with the steam, but most importantly, we are the party that is really listening to and reflecting on where Ontarians are at right now. Lots of people have come out of this pandemic with with a sense that there's a lot that's been broken over the last number of years. And what we want to do is assure people that if we come together this time, we can start to fix the things that are broken and start to make sure that the things that matter most to Ontarians are put back on track. And I think that's what people are looking for, and that's certainly what we're committing to. I can actually say to folks without reservation that instead of a premier that works for his buddies, this time you can have a premier that works for you.
Next question comes from Elwood Shreve from Chatham Daily News.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Good.
Getting back to your plan for helping seniors stay at home, is there going to be a mandatory level of care as part of this? Because I've talked to home care workers, and they don't get paid for travel time. They get stacked up with clients, and they can't even see them in their shifts. So how would you try to address that?
No, it's a really great question, and it reflects some of the conversation that we were having a few minutes ago. We are going to make a $1 billion investment in home care because not only should those jobs be good jobs, so people should be paid properly, they should be compensated for the travel between patients or seniors, and they should also be able to get a wage that pays the bills and a schedule that allows them to provide the quality of care that people need and deserve. We've heard horror stories of folks having the PSW just doesn't show up, but it's not the PSW's fault. It's often a for-profit company that's trying to jam too many appointments into one day, and it's impossible for any human being to provide that kind of quality of work. So we know that PSWs want to do that work, and they want to feel good about the work that they're doing. But when a company is overbooking you, it's inevitable that somebody is going to be missed or an appointment's going to be canceled at the last minute, and that's not what seniors deserve. Seniors deserve to know that their PSW is going to be there for them. We also have made a commitment to transition out of a for-profit model because when we're talking about providing care for seniors, it should be that every public dollar goes to providing that care and not to the profit margins of a for-profit company. So we're also going to transition the system to get the profits out and get the care back in.
And as a follow-up to that, how difficult is it going to be to get people to come back to this industry? Because I've heard a lot of, they'd rather go work at Tim Hortons or something than handle the stress. So what's the plan to entice people back?
That's a really good point, and we've seen thousands upon thousands of PSWs and other healthcare workers leave healthcare in the aftermath or during the process of COVID-19 because it was so stressful, so difficult. Mental health was something that mental health concerns was something that a lot of PSWs and healthcare workers were suffering from, and so what we have is a plan to increase the wage, as I said, so $5 an hour. Above what the pre-pandemic wage was at for PSWs, but also stabilize the work so that people can have full-time hours, that they can have benefits, they can make careers out of being PSWs again. So our plan includes the recruitment and retention of more PSWs, as well as returning some of the folks that might have walked away from being a PSW. I was in another community not too long ago, and I had a PSW was chatting with me about her experience and the love she has for the profession, the love she has for the people that she cares for, and she said, similar to the conversation we were having today, that people want to stay in their own homes and they value that extra help that they get from the PSWs, and she said something that is going to stick with me forever. PSWs are important people because home care is where it's at. And that's what she said. And I think a lot of PSWs feel that way as well. They just need to be respected. They need to be fairly compensated, and they need to have full-time careers that help them raise their families and pay their bills.
Next question comes from Paul Pedro from Blackburn News.
Give me one moment, please.
No problem, Paul.
If anybody else wants to go ahead.
Oh, sure. We can move to Zoom for some questions. Next question comes from Siobhan Morris from CTV.
Hey, Siobhan.
You might need to unmute, Siobhan.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Oh, great. I know, Andrea, you were talking about Monday's debate. I'm wondering how you're thinking about putting distance between yourself and Stephen Del Duca, considering from what voters have heard so far and what the polls are showing, it seems that, you know, they kind of like what they're hearing.
Well, I think that the reality is that this is going to be an election at which there's a lot at stake, and people I know are thinking about that. And what this debate is going to do is give folks a chance to really analyze, I guess, or hear from the leaders and hear about our plans. I can say that what I'm hearing from a lot of folks as I travel around this province is that they understand that absolutely this last 4 years has been a roller coaster. People want to get back on solid ground. But when you look at our healthcare system, it was on its knees when Doug Ford took over. Absolutely, he cut more, and then the pandemic hit. But the Liberals gave us hallway medicine, and people were very disappointed with that. And that's why they showed the Liberals the door last time around. So whether it's our hospital system, whether it was the gas plant scandal, whether it was the selling off of Hydro One, Ontarians haven't forgotten the track record of Stephen Del Duca's Liberals, and as much as he wants to pretend that that's not the history of 15 years of Liberal government in Ontario, it absolutely is. And that's why we're saying to folks, there's a lot of things that we want to see fixed, a lot of commonality about what people want to see done here in Ontario, and some of those things I've talked about already, and some of them we're talking about this morning. But how can you trust the very party that broke a lot of these things to then actually fix it or repair it? And I think those are some of the decisions and some of the thoughts that people are having around this particular election. And that's why I'm saying this time let's come together and make sure we succeed in what we all, well, 6 out of 10 of us anyways, want to see, which is ensuring that Doug Ford is not elected this time around, and that you have a government that is going to work for you and fix the things that matter most to you and your family.
I know you were talking about organizing your thoughts with Penn. Can you take us inside a little bit of your process, how you get ready for a debate that you think has such a level of importance?
I mostly spend time thinking about the kinds of things that people tell me they're concerned about, and how to best articulate that. And you know, it's about a couple of things. It's about the hope that people need to know is there. You know, folks have been cynical, I think, about politics for a while now, and they're looking for some hope that things can actually be different for a change. And that's what we're offering. We're offering that hope that that we can fix the things that are broken, that we can pay attention to you, to your families, to your needs, to your communities, to your kids, to your loved ones. Because that's what people want to see in Ontario. They want to see a province where they can build a great life, and where they can know that the things that their family needs and that their community needs are there for them to secure that great life, and that can happen. So it's not just about the policy, but it's about making sure that folks know that you can have hope, that the things that are broken, that the things that we're worried about, that we're all worried about, can be addressed. This time, the way to do that is with a vote for the NDP, because the Liberal Party doesn't even have a full slate of candidates going into this debate, and we know that they really did break a lot of the things that need to be fixed. We also know that the last election, the NDP, came first or second in 100 out of 124 ridings. And so we certainly do have an opportunity to show the people of Ontario that together we can fix the things that matter most to all of us.
We'll come back to Zoom in a moment. Up next will be Paul Pedro from Blackburn News.
Hey, Paul.
Hi, good morning, and welcome to Chatham.
Thank you.
Or Charing Cross. My apologies.
Charing Cross, exactly.
Beautiful backyard. First, I have two. First question is, one of the biggest complaints I hear is that governments keep pouring money into healthcare, but there's no real oversight. So how are you going to make sure the $1 billion in home care is going to make it to the right
place, the intended place, and not the bottom line of private companies?
That's a great question, Paul, and that's why we're committed to getting the profits out and the care back in. And one of the things that Mr. Ford has done is actually changed the system so that the private companies get to determine what level of care the clients or the patients receive. So if the company's deciding what level of care, and then they're also making money on the provision of the care, seems to be a bit of a conflict there. So we're going to get the profits out, the care back in, and make sure that our system is one that people can rely on.
Second question is the tax deferral, property tax deferral. Sounds a lot, to me anyway, like a reverse mortgage. Does the government really want to get into reverse mortgages?
No, not at all. It's not at all a reverse mortgage. What it is to provide people a little bit of extra breathing room when it comes to the cost of their property taxes. And in some cases, that's the very barrier that people have to be able to financially manage to stay in their own home. So what it does is it provides that relief. As I said, on average, $375 a month, and that would help pay for the other expenses that folks have. And then when you sell the property, when it's time to sell, then that's when that amount of money is returned. But there would be no growing interest or anything like that at all. It would be a matter of giving people that financial relief. Thank you.
Moving back to Zoom, next question comes from Colin DeMello from Global News.
Hey, Colin.
Good morning. Had another question about the debate. So Monday was your first opportunity. I mean, you've debated Doug Ford in the past, obviously, but Monday was your first opportunity to be on stage with all of the other leaders. I'm wondering what you learned from that debate about how you kind of handled yourself, about how the other leaders interacted with you, that you're going to be taking forward to Monday's debate.
Well, it's always an opportunity to certainly observe what to do some self-examination in terms of my own delivery and my own way I handled myself. But it's also an opportunity to remember that it shouldn't be about Doug Ford or about Stephen Del Duca or about Mike Schreiner or about Andrea Horwath. It should be about the people of Ontario and giving them some hope that they can have a government that's going to fix the things that are broken and take care of the things that matter most to everyday people. And I think sometimes we get stuck in this this performance of a debate, or the attention of the debate that swirls around the debate. But I really think that people deserve to know that there are people that the leaders are there for them, that they're there for Ontarians, that the reason we do what we do, and that's certainly my perspective, the reason I do what I do, is because I think that we can make life better for people, that we can help people to have a great life in this province, and give people that hope that, we've come out of a pandemic and people have had serious losses. People have lost loved ones, they've lost businesses, the parents talk about how their kids have changed in terms of their personality. Kids have lost some opportunities around learning and socialization. There's a lot of loss that's come as a result of the pandemic, and of course now with prices going up, young people unable to even imagine affording their own home, renters extremely worried about being able to afford their rent. These are all things that can be solved if we invest in what people need to get back on track, to get on solid ground again, and that's where I think the focus needs to be. So yes, the debate's I guess an important opportunity, but it needs to be about what the leaders bring in terms of providing that hope for people. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what governments are supposed to be doing, paying attention to everyday folks, everyday families, and making sure that they have some hope for the future.
Right, but the debates obviously are a big opportunity for somebody like yourself to take 40 seats and turn it into a government. So what do you think you need to do differently this time? I noticed a couple of times last time, Doug Ford and Stephen Del Duca were going at it, and you were trying to get in, but didn't quite, penetrate in between the two men. So Well, sorry, that's a really terrible visual. But,
That's okay, Colin.
sorry. So do you need to be more aggressive this time? Do you need to have your elbows up a little bit more, or are you going to be looking straight towards the camera, trying to be more projecting more of a premiere? What are you going to be doing different this time to really make an impact?
Well, you have to be really careful about appearing to be disrespectful, and it's a balance. There's just no doubt it's a balance. You don't want to come off being disrespectful, but you do want to have your voice heard. And I think a lot of the responsibility lays with the moderators. Frankly, I don't know if you recall, but I was motioning a couple of times to the moderators that the moderator of that debate that I had something to say, and I'm going to continue to try to be as respectful as possible while being critical, frankly, of the performance of the Ford government over the last 4 years, the cuts that have hurt people, the Conservative cuts that will come again the minute the Conservatives get a chance to govern again. They always cut, and that hurts people. It hurts families. So I will be having those kinds of conversations, reminding people of the disappointment after 15 years of the Liberals. Those are things that I think are necessary as a context to provide that hope, that it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to have another number of years of disappointments with Liberals, nor do families have to have a premier who's more interested in working for their buddies or working for his buddies than working for everyday folks.
Next question comes from Richard Southern from City News.
Morning, Richard.
Morning, Andrea. I'll try and keep things family friendly here. Stat holidays. There's only 10 in Ontario. You look in Europe and there's a lot more. I'm wondering, if elected, first of all, will you recognize Truth and Reconciliation Day as a provincial holiday, one, but have you put any thought into bringing any new statutory holidays to Ontario?
Well, we're absolutely going to start with the Truth and Reconciliation Day. In fact, we tried to get the Ford government to make that a stat here in Ontario. He refused, and I think that was a mistake. So we're definitely going to start with that one, and we'll have a conversation with Ontarians and determine whether there's room for further stat holidays. It's important to acknowledge and recognize the work that's been done on the path to reconciliation through that process. The number of recommendations that were provided to various orders of government still have not been addressed, and so it shouldn't only be a stat holiday where we reflect on the history, the colonialism here in our country and our province, and what it did to First Nations people, but also where are we in terms of progress on the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. And I think that we need to have a real thoughtful look at how do we start going forward with those recommendations, those calls to action.
Andrea, on another issue entirely, I know a lot of Ontarians, be they in Chatham-Kent or elsewhere, have talked a lot lately about the high concentration of cannabis retail stores. It seems like there's 2 or 3 on every block almost. If elected, would you do anything to curtail the amount of such stores? Thank you.
Well, thanks, Richard. It's a really good point, and it's something that municipalities were urging the Ford government to address. They were very unhappy with the hands-off approach that the Ford government took. We had a private member's bill that did address separation, kind of distance separation issues. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, brought forward by Marit Stiles, the MPP or the candidate now for Davenport, the former MPP for Davenport, because she was hearing not only from Toronto, but from other municipalities as well as neighbors and small businesses on main streets around the province that this was a concern. So we'll certainly have a look at it. I think that the very least we should be doing is listening to municipalities, listening to communities, listening to BIAs and small business groups to determine what kind of balance we want to see in our main streets when it comes to retail.
Next question comes from Pascal Vachon from TFO.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Pascal.
I want to come back to what Mrs. Ford this morning. Mr. Ford said this morning in Windsor. He talks about there's a promise to learn French and all that, and he said one thing that the Franco-Ontario and the Francophone Ontario have never seen that much love under his government than any other government. So I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you think the Ford government gave a lot of love to Franco-Ontarians in the last 4 years?
Absolutely not. Doug Ford got rid of the French Language Services Commissioner. He was completely unprepared to deal with what was happening in Sudbury with Laurentian University. He's not shown any love whatsoever to Franco-Ontarians. We know that Franco-Ontarians continue to be unable to get the kinds of public services that they should be able to receive in French, and there's been really no action from the provincial government to address that. A new Francophone Act, a piece of legislation for Francophones in Ontario needs to be addressed. It's something that's been lobbied for some time, and we continue to see an erosion of the commitments around not only French language and French and services in French, but also making sure that we can maintain and support and continue to grow the Francophone culture in our province.
What would be the biggest difference, or some of the difference that the NDP government would made for Francophone? What would be the biggest difference?
Well, I think that we would be working closely with the Francophone communities around our province, as well as the leadership in the Francophone organizations and in the education system, to provide the kinds of financial and legislative supports that are required. We haven't seen that, and of course, with the loss of, we will also be reinstating the French Language Services Commissioner because we need to be able to monitor the extent to which we're either succeeding in providing for more services, more access to services, more supports for the Francophone culture, or if we're not doing that, if we're sliding backwards or we're not making progress, that's exactly what the French Language Services Commissioner, that's their role, is to help government stay on track in moving forward. So there's just so much that I think Francophones have been telling us for some time that needs to be addressed. Guy Bergouin, the candidate for us up I'm trying to forget his riding, up around the Timmins area, Mushkegowuk, James Bay area. He's an amazing advocate for Francophone people, but so are folks like France Gélinas, so are folks like Timmins candidate Gilles Bisson. We have a number of Francophones that are running for us that have been MPPs in Ontario's NDP caucus, but we also have a number of French-speaking MPPs as well, and so that helps us to be thoughtful about how do we support not only Francophones in terms of language and access to services, but also culture.
That's all we have time for this morning, so I'll turn it back to you, Andrea.
Thanks very much. And Guy is going to be unhappy with me that I momentarily was unable to pull his riding out of my head, but these things happen. I'm really grateful for the conversation this morning, and I want to once again thank the folks that are with me, and I want to once again thank Vera for letting us be here at her home, and I want to thank Mary as well, and Pat and Doug, and our fantastic candidate Brock McGregor for this wonderful time on the lawn here in Charing Cross. Thanks so much, everyone.